moment. It's check-in Tuesday, so I just wanted to take a moment to reach out and spend a bit of time with each other and see who we can connect with. A little bit of a different time today, but we're going to try and see who we can get to join us. We may have Captain Harley here from How To Boating, which will be pretty exciting, and hopefully Captain Scott as well. But if anyone well, just a reminder, the purpose of Check-In Tuesday. Hello, Real Yacht and crew on sea joined. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. A lot of crew are in a great space. There's a lot of people that have difficult times in their lives, and the purpose of this is just to ensure we have space allocated to help the crew around us. So today's an exciting one. It's not just about boating, though. Not just about checking in and mental health. Some practical tips about boating. So I see maybe Captain Scott join. Kieran, how are you? Amanda? Captain Scott.
How we doing?
Good, mate. The old give way sign. Oh, what sign's that behind you there, buddy?
Well, that's because of this. I left the lights on the car, so
Oh,
yeah,
that old trick, eh?
waiting for the jump start. Actually, the guy just got here, so I'm gonna
Oh,
have to jump off, man, and
no
get
stress.
this
You do you,
sorted out.
brother.
All
Grateful
right,
to see you
thank you,
anyway.
man. Thank you, man. All
Thanks for
right, man.
checking in. Thanks for
Yeah,
checking
man.
in, Scott.
All is well.
All is well.
All is well. Could be worse.
And if it isn't, it isn't over yet. And if it isn't, it isn't
No.
over.
Hey, if this is the worst thing that's happened for me today, then I'm doing well. It's all right, man.
Cool, man. All right, be
All right,
safe,
guy.
buddy.
All right, man. Bye bye.
Oh, that was an adventure, folks. That was a quick check-in. So if you want to join, press the request to join. We can add you. I think Captain Harley's here.
My man, Captain
Long.
Liam, what's going on? My favorite captain. Here we go.
Oh, mate, you've got me. You're my favourite, mate. You give me too many. When you call, look what happens to the weather.
What is it good?
Sunny Seattle, mate. Sunny Seattle.
Oh, that's good. I guess that's rare. I've never been there, but I guess
Oh,
that's
mate. Yeah,
like
it is rare. Yeah, not all of us get the Florida life, you know?
no,
How
no.
is it at the moment?
It's sunny here. I'm on the west coast of Florida in Venice, so it's 70
Wow.
degrees and there's not a cloud in the sky at all. So it's beautiful.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We've got a couple of people. Thanks for your time. We do a check-in Tuesday to check in with people in the industry around us, reach out to the crew around you. How you feeling? You cool?
I'm loving life. Loving
Cool,
life.
man. Well, how can you not?
I'm on a boat this morning. Well, I just got off the boat. Then I'm on another boat this afternoon to teach. So I can't complain.
Yeah. What boats are they?
This morning was a 32 Pursuit. It was a dual console. This afternoon would be a 23 foot. I forgot the make. It was like Cobia or something like that. Single
Cool.
engines. Going this morning, twin engine outboard. To this afternoon, single engine
Well,
outboard.
yeah, that jumps into our first topic, which is the type of boats out there. So, what's your favorite? I mean, without being upsetting anyone, but what's your if you had like a weekend off, mate, and you're like, all right, cool, this is what I want to do. What boat would you take?
I gotta have something to go to the Keys in. So something a V hull, something that can handle waves, but also something with a shallow draft. So like
Okay.
a Dauntless, which is like a 28-ish Boston Whaler Dauntless. So it's got a shallow draft, but it's a nice V hull. So that's
Yeah.
what I go for a shallow center console. Yeah.
Well, we just had you had the Seattle Boat Show on this last week, and there was a lot of boats with like a pontoon raft at the front, where it's like a
Mm.
drive on, drive off. So you take your ATV
Oh,
on, you go to a beach, you drop the ATV, and that's an awesome ride.
that's sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's
And
more
still
advanced.
shallow draft, but a little bit, when it goes into the waves, it doesn't ride too well because it's a flat bow. It's a
It
little
just
catamaran, shallow
laps.
draft, and a
Yeah.
flat bow.
Is there a
But
big bay there?
huge, yeah, the Puget Sound, which goes into the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and then we're in Lake Union, which is freshwater now. So it's lock system, and you've got Lake Union, Lake Washington, huge lake systems.
All right. Nice. Well, that's
But mate,
cool.
I still remember our days going to Turks and Caicos.
I know. I missed them. We got to do it again. that,
Absolutely,
that was,
mate.
I,
Absolutely.
I still reference that time with you all the time. I mean, like that was a incredible experience you gave me because I've never experienced anything, as far as the private yachting side. So like I use examples from that week I spent with you on board and the crew and everybody. I use examples from there often. So yeah,
Well,
that was
it was
incredible.
still narrow going in though. Remember how shallow it was under the keel, like
Yeah.
2 foot, 3 foot. You're on a $20 million yacht. There's only 2, 3 foot under the keel. I'm like, Cat, we got this. Like, how's it looking on your side? And you and I like, all
Like,
right.
yeah, all good.
Eyes lighten up. But let's jump into it. We want to help people. You've only got 30 minutes. I want to make it count for these people. So we're going to go over the 5 topics that are on your kind of website and your training program, which is how to boating, which is coaching people with their ownership of boats, but the maneuvering of vessels and the whole platform. Correct?
Yeah, really everything there is to know about boat ownership. I mean, really most of our clientele is people who, buy a boat, they don't know how to use it, so they call me up and I go out on the water with them. So right now I've got one other instructor and another one I'm onboarding. So, the goal is growth so we can help more people. For me,
Yeah.
I can only do so much, right? I'm only helping, 2 families today. But actually, my other captain is helping one today. So, we're trying to scale and
Well,
grow.
you're helping thousands, hundreds of thousands of people because your education, and even Captain Scott, who was just with us, he had to go. He just
Mm.
checked in quickly before you, but he watches all your videos, and these are captains of
Oh,
super yachts that are going, cool. This is how we're going to train our next generation up because the
yeah.
overview is perfect. So types of yachts. Go through the couple of types of yachts that when you're speaking to an owner, they're looking at buying. What's your kind of go-to? What's your tips?
Um, I guess so. When you're buying a boat, I guess this is more the sales aspect of it. Is you gotta think about what you're going to use the boat for, right? So, are
True.
you going to go fishing? Are you going to go to the sandbar? Are you just putting around the intracoastal, which is, I mean, for me is top of mind because I'm in South Florida, right? Are you going in the ocean a lot? Are you just using it for travel, point A, point B? So all of those things factor in. And then, family use, friend use, or if you're you and your wife, just you and your wife, that sort of thing. All of that plays into a factor. But what I see in South Florida is I'm mostly on center consoles or dual consoles of about 30 feet in length, so a twin engine outboard. So that's most apparent from
Yeah.
where I know the most common boats are those small like deck boats, single engine
Yeah.
across a deck
So
boat.
there's twin engines. Well, outboards and inboards are kind of the 2 big differences you'll see, and then it's single screw or twin screw.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you go through the process of saying, okay, we've got 2 engines. It's a twin screw. We have to start understanding the different techniques, which is crabbing or walking, and
Mm.
using the different terminology. Do you find people, pick that up quite quickly, or what kind of throws them off the most?
I think the hardest part for people is judging the momentum, judging their momentum. So what I like to say, is I'm just teaching them how to anticipate, right? So, for instance, in a car, you turn to the left, the car is going to go immediately to the left.
Yeah.
And then go to a 15-foot boat, you turn to the left, the boat's going to turn to the left about 3 seconds later. Then you go
Yeah.
to a boat, you turn to the left, it's going to turn to the left, 7 seconds later. All the way up to Yacht Unbridled, right? You got
Yeah.
turn to the left and you're going to feel it maybe a minute later or more.
Yeah.
So
And then
it's all
also,
about anticipation. And
yeah,
that's what I teach. So we build up, their comfort level. I teach them, the easiest stuff first. So that's basically just spinning around on a dime in a channel,
cool.
teaching them that to get familiar with how the boat maneuvers and reacts to your input, and then move on into harder and harder situations. So from that to docking to so on and so forth.
And how many lessons would you advise people to kind of sign up for? Like maybe 5, or I'm just brainstorming based on what I do with junior crew.
So to start off with, we do an intro course. So it's
Yeah.
4 hours. 4 hours is just enough for
What
them at
intense.
the end. So yeah, it's intense. It's just enough for them at the end of that 4 hours to be able to dock the boat on their own,
Yeah.
without my. And then as you know, some people get there, most people get there, some don't, and then that's when we go, okay, we probably want some more time, and then we do another 4 hours. And the reason we do 4 hours is because anything more than 4 hours is like information overload, because I'm
Yeah.
put in stressful situations, right?
Yeah.
So, and I realize that, like,
Yeah.
when people call, they're like, oh, let's do a full day, and I'm like, well,
Uh,
you're this is we're packing in so much value in this 4 hours. At the end of the 4 hours, you're gonna be like, it's just gonna be a lot.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we try to work with them. Anything less than 4 hours is just not enough context.
But
So hopefully
emotions
that.
must be a big part of it, though, eh? I mean, 4 hours intense, but emotions must be a big part of it because when you're in a learning mode, I've taught a lot of divers, and when they're in that learning mode, they're excited, but they're also anxious, and sometimes they force the mistakes. Like the boats, I always say the boat's not making the mistake. You're handling the boat. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, emotions can get the best of these people sometimes, and it's because of stress. So I mean, the
Yeah.
best, you know, you have to have basically a standard, a course curriculum to go through to that helps decrease the stress because they kind of know what to expect from you. So
Okay.
they're wondering what's next. They already know what's next. And you just gotta, talk to them sweet, be sweet to them,
That's it, man.
and
Yeah.
sometimes you teach and they learn from it, but sometimes you tell them one thing and they're so stressed out that they don't
Yeah.
compute. They hear you, but they don't compute it,
Yeah.
so it doesn't transfer to what they're doing quick enough.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's some people who don't learn very quickly, and you just have to let them learn the hard lesson, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to let
Yeah.
them learn a really bad lesson.
Expensive lesson.
I'm not going to let them learn an expensive lesson. But if they don't make the right turn, come in at the right angle, and I'm telling
Yeah.
them to, but they're not, then I'm stepping back. I'm like, I'll just let them bump up against the piling a little bit harder than
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
would like. And typically after that, then they're like, okay, yeah, I need to learn.
Yeah.
So
Well, what I say,
sometimes
I
you
don't
got
know
to.
if it's, I've taught a lot of people to drive boats, but not at your level and standard. I've taught junior deck crew and, big yachts, and we've worked together. But I always tell people, you've got to develop a relation to the boat. Like it's you and the vessel having a type of dance. And you want to make sure you're calm, you're feeling the right energy, you're in a good place mentally, and zone everything out. Zone the music, zone the friends,
Yeah,
zone whatever's going on, and just focus on the elements around you that affect you. And when you do that, I think it becomes a little bit simpler and your heart rate slows down, and then you make some bit wiser decisions looking ahead.
yeah, and I tell people to establish your intentions. So a lot of people, if they don't know what they're doing, they're just going, port forward, port
Yeah.
neutral, starboard forward, starboard neutral, and they're not really, they don't have a set intention of where they want to be. If you want to turn to the right, what are you think about the steps you take to get there, right? So that a lot of people struggle with that because they're still trying to figure it out. you
Yeah.
know
Cool.
we gotta set our intentions and step by step to get to where we're going to go. A lot of people just skip that step and just you
Yeah,
know
exactly, mate. Exactly. Yeah, and then they get nervous and they accelerate more, decelerate, and you're all of a sudden, well, you're on your own. You're committed here. It's not working. But I think we talked about types of vessel. We talked about the mentality that's required and taking the baby steps, anchoring though. So you've got off the dock. You're getting out there.
oh
You
yeah,
want to drop the pick. That's what I call it, dropping the pick.
I've never
What's a
of it.
oh, you never heard that?
No, no, it's
No.
an Aussie thing.
Oh well, there's two things. Let's get this on the road.
Oh, hold on, you broke up right there,
You just
sorry.
drop the pick.
What was
Yeah.
what was
So anyway, what's your steps? What's your steps for dropping the anchor?
So dropping the air, it's funny. I went over this today with my clients, and I was teaching all of this stuff. So step number one is you got to determine where the wind or where the current is
Yeah.
coming. You have to determine, how you're going to lay, because that's going to determine how you're going to lay, right? So number one is you gotta figure that out, and there's a couple ways to figure that out. You could either actually assess the wind and assess the current, or you could cheat a little bit, and if you're in an anchorage, there's other boats that are lined up
Yeah.
into the current. So I mean, it's not necessarily cheating, but it's using your resources available,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if all the boats around you are lined up in one direction, then you're going to line up in that direction. And when you anchor, you want to point the bow into that same direction that everybody
Yeah.
else. If you don't, let's take the inverse. If you go to anchor, bow away from the wind, then you drop the anchor and the wind's just going to push you right over the anchor, which wouldn't make much sense. It may make the anchor, lay upside down and
Yeah.
potentially not, or take another 3 to 6 meters to catch, and then you're not where you want to be. So that's number one. For me, number two is you want to stop your momentum with your bow into the wind, because if you have any forward momentum and you drop the anchor, again, you're just running over the anchor. So you
Yeah.
want to stop your momentum and then start dropping that anchor. And for these, smaller boats, put it in reverse as you're dropping that anchor, because you don't want to drop all the chain on top of the anchor,
On top
because
of itself.
it could foul the anchor.
Yeah.
And you're just putting it in reverse for say 5 seconds just to get that reverse momentum, and then also you have the wind's momentum pushing you back. So what I tell people on the boats I'm on is you want to think about scope, right? So the Coast Guard recommends for every foot of water depth, or foot of between the bow
Yeah.
and the seafloor, to put out 5 to 10 feet of line. Now that's what the Coast Guard says.
Okay.
Sometimes that's extreme. Sometimes you can get away with a
Yeah.
little bit. But when you start letting that line out, you want to. It's about a foot per second on the winch. Generally, on the
Mm.
boats I run, it's about a foot per second. So if you are in 10 feet of water, you want to let out 50 feet of line roughly. So you're pressing the down line, or the anchor down button, for about 50 seconds roughly.
That's a great tip right there. Like the amount of people that don't understand that 50 seconds, 50 foot, that's a good tip.
Yeah, it's not always perfect, but that
Yeah.
gets the job done.
Yeah.
Gets
It's
the
enough out to go, all right, cool. We're phase two.
yeah, yeah. And then once you're there, now you want to think about, is this anchor holding? Are we dragging? So we, typically, the people I work with are going to anchor at a sandbar or anchor in a bay or something and have lunch, whatever. So typically there's going to be a reference point around you. So you're just lining up, like, let's say, a piling in the distance with the house
Yeah.
behind, making sure you're not
Exactly.
dragging. And what I like to do is, before you turn the engines off, make sure that that piling stays there for at least 30 seconds. And if I
Yeah.
want it even more secure, I would pop one of those engines. Let's say we're on a twin engine boat. I would pop one of those engines in reverse to really dig that anchor
Yeah.
into the ground a little bit more, to test it pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
leave it in
And you
there
see
for,
the line come up, you see it
yeah,
shake a
yeah,
touch, as tension
yeah,
loads on it.
yeah, exactly. And that helps it, dig in. So
I mean,
once
I mean, what I love about it is it doesn't matter what the boat is; it's the same process. It's
the
the
same,
it's the
yeah.
same steps you've made that people make so much of a mess with. Like I see people anchoring all the time, and they're anchoring the wrong wind direction, the wrong current, and they're not putting out enough drag, and then do it again and again and again. So, find the elements, drop enough scope or enough chain of line out, and then set it properly.
Yeah, and all this stuff, like you said, is universal. I use this on a big boat, a small boat, a bass boat, a center console.
Exactly.
It's
Then we
busy.
want to go into some. Yeah, exactly. What's your top three knots that if you want to do, someone who's just got a boat, if you want them to learn a couple of things, whether it's knots or dock lines, what would you start with? Dock lines is a lot about etiquette and maintenance of the line, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if we're just listing off 3 knots, we'd go a cleat hitch, we'd go a bowline, and a clove hitch. Those would be my
Mm.
my top three. Um, but yeah, about etiquette, and let's say along your lines, you want to keep those clean, the line's clean on the yacht, and you want to make it look good. You don't want to leave it, spread across the dock too. So, make it organized, because I mean, with yachts, we're talking about yacht crew.
Yeah.
Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So
Yeah.
if you leave the line across the dock, me looking from the outside in, looking at you, like, you're not the most detail oriented person, right?
Yeah.
You're just leaving the line across the dock. So, make it look nice along the dock. So
Yeah.
you blemish the line. You could do the daisy chain.
Yeah.
There's a couple things you could wrap it. One thing I tell people not to do is just wrap it around the base of the cleat until they're good
Oh.
line. Because what
It's the
happens,
easiest, but it's not the most functional.
it's not as functional, because what happens is, like, let's say you had an emergency on the dock, you got to get off the dock real quick, then the
Yeah.
guy out here trying to unwrap it, doing like 50 reps to unwrap it, and then you render that cleat useless for if you had to put another line on top of it, right? So that
Yeah.
leads it just leads to more work in the long run. So
That's it.
yeah.
It's just, with line handling, people say it's a boring topic. To me, it's the safety. It's one of the most important safety topics you've got. Whether you're securing the vessel alongside safely and leaving it, or when you're maneuvering off the dock, make sure the lines are secure. Every time a crew member will depart a yacht, for example, or a marina, I'm always looking at the bow and the stern line to making sure they're inboard the boat and they're generally coiled. So, as a captain or someone learning the process, you have to make sure the moment you come off that boat, have the lines coiled neatly back in their place, because so many times you go to sea and the line falls off the side, and then heaven forbid it gets close to a propeller, and then it's your day over.
Yeah,
Have
don't
you
let the
seen that happen?
yeah. Whenever I was running yachts in Miami, I was like, don't ever let the line touch the water. But, like, because then, I'm very risk adverse. So once that line touches the water, I go out of gear immediately once I
Yeah.
see that, just in case, until.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely, do your best as a junior crew to, keep everything organized, because that's going to look good to the captain, right? I mean, you wouldn't, like, when I was hiring for crew, like, it's so easy to get ahead by just, doing what you're supposed to do and doing a little bit extra. So,
Yeah.
it
But
just looks a lot better on you compared to other
yeah,
people.
isn't it a great industry though, mate? The maritime sector, from any sized vessel, a little kayak to a rowboat, all the way up to mega yachts. I just think it's such a beautiful place. People are coming down to enjoy their experience in the water. And there's a couple of key things though. And if people just do those key things like you're explaining in your courses, their day is so much more enjoyable. You
Mhm.
know, just slow it down a little bit, maneuver the vessel gently, respectfully, dock your lines properly, anchor correctly, and your day is going to be more enjoyable. What's the biggest thing you see people make the mistake of?
Uh, like you just said, going too fast and being impatient.
Mm.
Right. So, I mean, my saying, and there's a lot of other people that say it too, is only go as fast as you're willing to hit something. Right.
Yeah,
So, you want to keep it slow and controlled to make sure, nothing happens. So, like, if you're in a channel, you know, and you go to spin around and you make a wrong move from, what I see with clients, you make a wrong move, then they try to force their way out of it by increasing the throttles.
yeah,
And, I just say, if you have that feeling, just go into neutral. Just go
yeah.
into neutral. Like, if
Chill.
if if something's gonna happen, like, let the wind push you into the other boat. It's
Yeah,
okay. But if you try to force your way out, that increases risk, and you can hit that boat at 5 miles per hour as opposed to a half a mile an hour.
yeah.
So, if you hit that other boat, for example, and there's a person on it, typically they're like, okay, no big deal. But if you hit it 5 miles per hour,
Fast.
then they're like, all right, we got to write up a report or what.
Yeah. And then you
So
steam off and you hit another boat, and then you're like, all right, let's get the cops involved here. It's, you know what I mean? So.
yeah, yeah.
There's
So it's just
also, I want to
that.
respect Florida though, because like everyone thinks, oh, Florida, flat water, it's easy to learn to drive. Florida's, they need the coastal waterway. It doesn't matter what boat I'm on or what size. I'm always like, oh, here we go, 17th Street Bridge. There's a sandbar here. There's channel markers here. They change color. And you know, the amount of tenders I've driven around there going, yeah, I can make that turn. Then I'm like, no, I can't make that turn. Let me just back off a bit. So I do respect the challenges that people face.
Yeah, that spot in particular, or 17th Street bridges. Yeah, that's underrated. Like that's tougher than you think it is
Yeah.
because current could be going one way, the wind could be going the other. You know, wind is at 20 knots, current's at 3 knots. It can get dicey.
Water taxis going across, yachts coming in, pilot boats, bridges, you know,
But
and
from the
you're,
outside looking in, you don't see all that because you're not paying attention to all of that.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
once
it's
you're
like
in it,
haul over.
yeah,
Yeah, and people make fun of haul over, like, oh, what an idiot that person is. But they don't know what they get themselves into half the time. Like you're thinking
yeah,
it looks calm, yeah, I'll make this, and then a couple of ways, and there's a current shift or a tide shift, and you're committed. But I love seeing that footage. You know, it's good when boats have incidences. It's a funny day. You know what I mean? Unfortunately,
yeah. I've got a lot of people that are like, you got to teach me how to go out of inlets, and I'm like, all the videos that you see on, you know, the website or Instagram, whatever, are like people who just made a bad choice to go out that day. So they they don't know the conditions
yeah,
that they need to look out
they're
for.
not
So
ready.
decide to go, and then it's too late. They turn around. Hopefully, they turn around, but most of the time it's too late, and that's why we get those videos. And a lot of times, you know, all over's nice,
Yeah,
like flat.
exactly. But the
A
other
lot.
thing, I think we want to talk about navigation aids here in channel markers, if you don't mind, because we talked about Florida. What a lot of people don't realize is that America has a different navigational aid system than a
Yeah,
lot of the world. So there's ILA A and ILA B, which is basically the red and green, correct?
yeah,
In America, well, the rest of the world, it's switched, whichever way you want to look at it. But I always remember red, right, returning.
right.
Is that the way
Yeah,
you remember it and teach it?
yeah, that's the way I teach it. So, yeah, along those lines, it's not just America that has this. It's North
Yeah.
and South America. It's Japan, Philippines, and the Korea that have this setup. So you could say maybe it's American influence or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember the history per se of why
It'd be
things change.
interesting.
Um, but yes, the general overview, you know, people say red right return. But what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, what returning means.
Yeah.
So return in a new boater's head, it's like I'm returning home, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So when we think of returning, the actual definition is from seaward and clockwise around the United States and east to west on the Great Lakes.
Gotcha. East
So
to west on the Great Lakes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've
That
never
is
been to.
complicated up there, isn't it? That one. Yeah. East to west on the
I,
Great Lakes.
I,
Gotcha.
and that's all I know about about the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
But so when we break that down from seaward, we're talking from larger water body to smaller water body. So red right return, meaning from larger water body to smaller water body. So let's say you're going from the Atlantic Ocean through an inlet into a bay, right? The Atlantic Ocean is a larger water body. The bay is a smaller water body. So you keep the reds on the right. And then let's say you go from the bay up a river. Then the bay is a larger water body. The river is a smaller water body. So you keep the reds on the right. So that's the gist of what I
Yeah.
teach. And then you go to like the intracoastal.
Oh,
Uh, the intracoastal doesn't necessarily go from a larger water body to a smaller water body.
yeah.
So the second part of the definition that I said from seaward and clockwise around the United States, return is going clockwise around the United States. So that means from the Northeast US all the way down around Florida, coming back up and all the way to Texas, you keep the reds on your right when you're going in
Yeah.
that direction. And then same thing, we don't have an intracoastal around California, you know, Oregon, Washington, but it goes from south to north, so over there, from, you know, clockwise around the United States.
But that's
So
confusing because people come in from sea into the intercoastal and it kind
yeah,
of changes. That's the bit that throws people off.
right. Because when they, you know, come in from larger water body to smaller water body and then go north, then
Yes.
red's on the left, but they're thinking red
Red
right
right
return,
returning. Oh,
right. So the way you know these markers, you have to read these markers a little bit different. The intracoastal markers have a yellow sticker on them.
Yeah.
So yellow in general, maritime industry, it means special. So
Yeah.
it's a special marker, meaning you have to read it a little bit different. And, I've broke down the intracoastal marker into something other than red right return. So hopefully people can remember it. Whenever you see a yellow sticker on the marker, you think red dirt, green sea. You keep the
Red
red,
dirt, green sea. Yep.
which is the mainland, and you keep the green between you and the ocean, which is the seaside, right? So
Yeah.
no matter if you're going north or south, if you're keeping the red between you and the mainland of Florida, that's good. And you
Yeah.
got to keep
Yeah.
you and the sea. So there's red right return and then red dirt, green sea.
Love it, mate. Love it. A lot of people are going, geez, this is complicated. I just want to go out
I know,
fishing and have a
right?
couple of beers and catch some fish, But there's a lot to it. And this is what keeps you safe. And this is why important you've got to work with a reputable instructor like yourself and your team to learn these things. So your day is simple. My tip is know before you go. Like, know, look at your route and just mentally get it in your head and go, cool, left, yep, done. Get it on your chart plotter, zoom in, and if you get it wrong, it's really expensive and it can ruin your day. So really take your time before you go to sea in any little event, even just out the channel and back. Take a moment. We talk about navigation markers. We could go into that for hours and hours. But let's go back to some more fun stuff. Let's talk about the mentality of it, the leadership. What would you look for? You're teaching people to drive boats. Those people are captains in their own right. What would you look for as good attributes of someone, or any tips you'd give them to how to manage the people that they're taking? Because they're taking 6, 10, 12 people. It's quite a big day.
You mean captains in what role? Do they have crew under them? So you're talking about the
Guests
communication
or crew?
crew?
No,
Yeah.
guests or crew. Like even if you're going out with your
Oh,
friends, 10 friends, for example, there's still a lot on your mind. So
yeah.
what kind of advice would you give those people just to keep calm, keep it steady, get everyone out, get everyone home safely?
It's all about communication.
Okay.
And the goal is to have everyone understand the reason why you're doing something versus something else. So the why is a big deal. The reason why we're going to this sandbar as opposed to this sandbar is because the weather's coming in, the wind's coming in one direction, wouldn't be so good for this sandbar, so we're going to the other one. That sort of thing, and that also establishes rapport. So
Yeah.
they're comfortable asking a question because you're trying to get them to understand the why we're doing this over this. So that's really important when you're teaching somebody. For example, me with my clients, it's all about why we do something, and it also allows them to be able to think for themselves about now we can start asking more questions about why we do this over this, and it's mainly all about risk limitation. So as long as um, the crew or the clients understand that. I'm sorry.
No, I got you there, mate. What about it? Would you advise people to do a little briefing? Like, I grew up on dive fishing boats where you'd take people out and say, all right, everyone, we're on the same boat. We're all here together. Keep your eyes out, keep your arms in, help keep us tidy, and let's enjoy the day together. Is that something you advise people to do, or just so everyone
Yeah.
has the same vision?
Yeah, that's what I did. I was working in dive boats too. We talked
Yeah,
about
no.
this. How we both started is in the dive industry.
Yep.
But yeah, when I was a dive boat captain, we had about 10 reefs to choose from, and basically talk to the clients about we're going to go to these reefs because we think they'd be better for you guys. More photogenic. It'll be a
Mm.
nice better visibility here as opposed to here because the current, although most of it may go over their head, but most of them be like, okay, I understand, right? So yeah, it's all about clear lines of communication. So there's no like second guessing of why you're doing something over something else. If they don't understand the why, they could be second guessing you.
Yeah, and that brings us to weather. What's your go-to app? Like, I use Windfinder a lot and Windy, and then there's a lot of
Yeah,
bigger picture routing ones. What's your go-to?
those are my top two. Yeah, Windy and then Windfinder. Basically, I look at Windy. If I don't like what Windy says, I go to Windfinder.
And if you
Yeah,
don't, it depends on the subscription price. They keep going up, and I'm like, it's getting too expensive this windy now. I'm going back to Windfinder, the free one. But
yeah.
it's also looking out the window and being aware of the different systems. The tide is, I think, the one that people forget. They wake up and they go, "Oh, it's a beautiful day. Let go boating," and they realize it's a dropping tide. And the ocean currents or the ocean changes based on the tide so much. Like visibility you talked about, like sometimes down at the docks or the sandbars are tide
Mhm.
dependent. So both those apps do have good tide.
Yeah, they do. And like I teach in, for instance, Lake Boca a lot, and
Okay.
some days you go in Lake Boca in Boca Raton, uh, and it's just dirty. You can't see the bottom at all, and that's a
Yeah.
result of the tide going from high to low because now the current is going from all the channels out, so all
Ripping
that
out.
dirty water is getting pushed out into the ocean. So everything in its way is
Yeah.
going to be versus you flip it, the tide's going from low to high. So now all the water from the ocean is rushing in, all the clean water from the ocean is rushing in, making Lake Boca just beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was a couple weeks ago, I was with a client. We went there one day, and then a couple days later we went there again. The first day was like we couldn't see the anchor at the bottom. We were in only 5 feet
Yeah.
away. Second day we could see the anchor plus all the fish
Oh,
swimming around.
yeah.
And that's because that's a result of the tide. So that was a good lesson for them to understand the
Yeah.
tide.
Yeah, that's my big thing on the weather is just check the tide as well and work with it, and also, I think also adapt and change. Like you might get to that reef, it's the plan. If it doesn't feel right or something's off or there's too many boats, kind of have your backup option, correct? Like don't always just stick to the same plan because sometimes as captains are a little bit stubborn. Well, no, that's the plan. We're going to do it. And you're like, well, the weather's horrible and the wind's shifted, but let's adjust. Always have that flexibility to adjust.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Like, yeah, yeah. Always, you want to come in with a plan, carry out the plan. But if the plan based on your environment conditions are flawed, you don't want to force anything. Risk limitation is what I teach.
Yeah. And then just quickly, I want to touch on, I know you got to go, and I really appreciate your time, Captain Harley. In terms of emergencies and safeties, what's your go-to? Small boat, engine fire, men overboard? What's some things you want to have people, take away from this conversation going, cool, there is a seriousness to us, and what do we do in those events?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, I mean, you got to have all the stuff you need on the boat. So that's life jackets, sound producing device, flares. Well, you got the sound producing device. Other thing, all of this stuff is there,
Yeah.
and you know where to put these things to be, able to use them in an emergency. So, like for example, if you got a fire extinguisher under all the life jackets and under, in a pantry somewhere, you can't get to it.
Yeah.
That's so you have to think about where these emergencies can happen, and your how easy it is to find that thing to work on that emergency. For instance, a fire. All the fires aren't extremely common on the boats that I work on, but of course that it can happen. Do you want me to go through the steps of what you need to do, or is that
Oh,
too much?
no, no, up to you. We've kind of got 5 more minutes here, because I know you're busy, but I just want to make people aware of the risks that happen. It could happen on your vessel or another vessel. So, what would you do in the case of a fire? I mean,
In the case of a fire, so the fire will most likely be at the stern of the boat. So
yeah,
you pretty much stern of the boat at downwind, right on the leeward side. All the people are at the bow, and you're working with that fire with hopefully a fire extinguisher, shooting at the base, of course, just to try to put out that fire. Um, but of course, another thing is you would um, have somebody else with a role to talk on the radio, or you're
yeah.
talking on the radio. Somebody else has a role of putting out the fire, etc. So that's all stuff, you need to know how to operate the radio, which is probably the most prevalent thing that I teach. Other stuff is
Oh, good.
circumstantial, but the radio is really, really important. You've got channel 16. So you're able to communicate your emergencies. You got to know how to operate the radio, of course. Got to know how to do your distress calls. And the good thing about the Coast Guard, they're really good about answering, and they're really good about walking you through the process of how to fix whatever you need to do. Maybe not fix the boat, but
Yeah.
put out fire, whatever. You ask questions, that's a resource for you.
Yeah.
But you know how to operate the VHF to use that
Yeah.
resource, right? And of course, you go through your boating classes and all of that stuff, because that teaches you how to deal
Yeah,
with
I think
fire,
also shout out
thinking.
to
But
CETO and US Coast Guard. These guys are awesome. These people respond really quickly in these events and emergencies. So just listen to their instructions, and I also think take the help. Like too many times you see people, "Oh, I've got this," it's like, well, just take the help. You know what I mean? Things can go pretty bad pretty quick.
yeah,
Before we close up, I want to know a bit more about you, mate. What's your go-to on a day off? You going out boating? You doing any more diving? I'm in cold Seattle, so I'm missing my warm water.
yeah, it's tough to get a day off around here, but yeah, I go to the Keys as much as I can, and get on a boat, just enjoy time.
Yeah.
But the Keys are my happy place. I mean, if there was more
Yeah.
opportunity in the Keys, I'd still be living there. I used to live in Key West for a long time,
Yeah, I
so
remember.
if there was more opportunity there, I would be there full time. But it's
Ah,
Fort Lauderdale's a great
yeah.
spot. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your little retirement plan down there. You know what I mean? As the business builds, you start your little branch down there. And did you ever get out to Dry Tortugas when you were there?
I've actually never been to the Dry Tortugas. No.
Oh, heaven. 3 times in my life. And you can go there
Really?
camping too. Like
Yeah.
there's really weird, there's little camp spots, and you go out there on the ferry and you chill. I've been there, blessed to have been on a couple of yachts. But there's a really special place down by those keys. I love it. People travel all over the world to Bahamas and places. I'm like Key West, from Miami south, there's so many different reefs you can hit.
I know. So many hidden gems down there. You got the lighthouses out in the middle of the ocean. It's beautiful. And then you go on the other side of the Keys on the north side, and you got the they call it the back country, where you got the small uninhabited islands that holds it's basically a nursery for small
Yeah.
shark, small fish, lobster. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it
Do you get
all.
many
The Keys.
lionfish issues down there, or
Yeah, yeah, lionfish all over the place.
really? And you
Yeah,
can shoot them? You can shoot them still, or
yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
shoot 'em. They put on, the state of Florida puts on lionfish tournaments in the Keys and
Awesome.
Florida, and you know people come back, because I used to work for Florida Fish and Wildlife in the marine biology department, and we would of course sponsor these events, and there would be people coming back with 1,700 lionfish on their boat. They'd be laid out on the boat, and of
Like a
course you work.
weekend, like 2 or 3 days though.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. So they would
Seventeen
come back
hundred.
with a boat full of lionfish, and this is just one boat. It's 1,700. That
Wow.
that was the winner that particular year. But then you got second place 1,500, so on and so forth. So lionfish, yeah, big issue here.
Yeah. It tastes delicious though. I do really enjoy it. The ceviche or the fried lionfish.
Yeah, they're perfect. They're so clean, white fish. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to doing what we do best there, Cap Harley, and driving
Yeah.
boats and teaching people and help out. But I appreciate your time. For all those out there, it's Captain Harley, how to boating, get a hold of him. I wish we could have a sticker that all the people you've taught we could put on the side of their yachts and their boats, so we know they're trained by Captain Harley, because that's the standard. That's the standard, brother.
That would be great. That would be great. Hey, we're working on that. We're working towards that, having a sticker for
Cool.
or across the
Uh,
world too. We're
Mate,
growing, beginning, but yeah, we're trying to
and
help
we still
everybody.
need your help in the yachting industry, because so many of the crew, their first step is a 2-week course, Yacht Master Offshore, and there's nothing before that. So, I'm really, looking forward to working with you again and promoting it, so we can get some more junior yacht crew, male or females, or anyone involved in the yachting industry, to get at least a 4-hour session with you to understand the physics of it and the mentality of it requires to drive these small tenders and boats because they're getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and we have done that. We did an experimental thing in December, where it was a group event where we had a bunch of yachties come on board and learn from me and Captain Eddie out on
Cool.
the water, and that was good. We just gotta do it again and do it more often. And we
Yeah,
need
absolutely.
you out here. We need you heading up
Oh, mate,
the.
I'm always in a foreign country, mate. Good hard getting
I
me
know,
back,
I know.
Even my wife and kids, like, when you're coming home, Dad, I'm like, you know what? Couple more countries, couple more miles. I'm nearly there, nearly
I know,
there.
I know. You could add me to the list when you coming back home.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to our
Yeah.
next passage, mate. Should have a couple of good ones coming up here, so I'll get you out and keep us safe and have a good time. But you better get back to it. I better get back to it. Thanks again for all those out there. Check in with people, whoever it is around you. Ask them how they are, how you can help, and I think we can make a better yachting industry, a better community, and keep all us boaters safe. Thanks,
Well,
Captain Harley. You're a rock star, brother.
all right. You too, Captain Liam. Love you, brother.
Check you, mate. Be safe.